Welcome back to Spin Cycle, everybody. I'm Kaylee Fretz. Today on the show, no room for the Rockets. Tadej Slim Shady and Remco can't stop winning. Let's get to it. Welcome to the show, Kit Nicholson. Did you enjoy the cyclocross over the weekend?
Ask me when I've woken up in a couple of days.
Okay.
No, I did. There was a lot of it.
Yeah, there was a lot of it. World Championships. We are going to get to that later in the show as well. Johnny Long, welcome back.
You're not going to ask me if I enjoyed it.
Did you enjoy the cyclocross over the weekend?
Impossible to tell.
Did you enjoy the Villa game over the weekend?
No. There we go.
So.
So it's going to be
well
that
done.
sort of podcast. That's why Johnny has brought the salt already. But
Let's kick off. Let's kick off with a story. Actually, Kit, you wrote a sort of opinion piece-ish, an analysis piece, opinion analysis somewhere.
I'd say maybe
there.
somewhere. I mean, I tried to go somewhat objective.
So the news related to this is that the Titema Rockets, a team that we've talked about a lot on this podcast, and I think in general, if we're not fans of them, we are at least fans of what they're trying to do, right? I think we think it's interesting.
In their corner, I would say.
Yeah, I'm kind of pulling for them. I would say because I fundamentally, I'll speak for me personally. I think you two probably agree with me, but I kind of agree with the way that they're approaching the whole sport, right?
Yeah.
And where they sort of are creating value.
Yeah.
From within the
Whereas
team.
while a lot of others are talking big,
yeah,
they are actually doing something, and it's grassroots. They're not going to change the sport.
Yeah.
Purely with what they're doing now, and YouTube videos and what have you. But they are actually acting on their ethos, which is
to take
kind of rare.
a quick step back. End of last week, the Tour and Vuelta wildcards were released. We also have wildcards for a bunch of other ASO races out already, and the Titema Rockets have none of them.
Yet
Right?
we're still waiting on Paris-Roubaix, but yeah, they didn't get the writing was on the wall when there was nothing incoming for Paris-Nice, but then perhaps even more notably the Dauphiné or whatever it's called now, the Tour de Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes.
Rhône-Alpes, yeah.
Which Caio Rural did get a wild card for, so it's kind of starting to look a little bit unlikely. They went to the Paris-Roubaix last year, Titema, but the Rockets. But yeah, so far, before Thursday, Friday, they had been shut out from all ASO events. So it was looking a little bit...
Well, and in their place is, as you mentioned, Caio Rural was sort of the team that I think we were a little bit surprised to see, particularly end up at the Tour de France. Total Energies was the other one, but, French, that's not surprising in the slightest. I mean, the Tour does start in Spain this year, and so a Spanish team getting pulled in as a wild card is maybe not the most surprising thing in the world.
Might even have been part of the deal.
Might have even,
table.
Yeah, who knows? Might have been part of the deal. But Kit, I'm going to throw to you again. What was the gist of your piece at the end of last week, and what's your take on this?
Well, essentially, my take is, yes, it was surprising given the momentum that the Rockets picked up towards the end of last year, which included, were they invited to the tour presentation or do you just turn up to that? They went there with some players and, of course, all their transfers and what have you. However, we probably shouldn't have been so surprised that this happened. For one thing, yeah, as you said, Caio Rural is a Spanish team. They are a very well-established Spanish team. I quite like the fact that as a team, they are older than more than half of all the riders on the Rockets team. They've been around a while, and it'll be their first Tour de France. They've raced a few Vueltas, obviously.
You can tie them all the way back to like the 80s, can't you?
Yes, you can tie the sponsor. I'm not sure you can tie the organization.
Yeah, it kind of depends how you define it, but it's they're either from the sort of like right around 2000 range, or you can tie them all the way back to the 80s.
So I went to the source, sort of. I went to the team's press release on Friday, and they said it's our first Tour de France. Caio Rural has been on a Tour de France rider's jersey before, so it's not the first time that the sponsor's been there. Anyway, yeah, so it shouldn't have been particularly surprising. After last year's rankings, so a pro team qualifies for a wild card by finishing the top 30 the year before the season in question. And Caio Rural finished 25th, but if you take into account the disappearance of Intermarché / Lotto as they combine into one team and Arc Airbnb, they finished 23rd. There are 23 teams at the Tour de France. The 23 best teams should go to the Tour de France. That is Christian Prudhomme and ASO's rationale. Makes sense. But when you start to pick that apart and look at the numbers, if you're going to look at rankings in one degree, and yes, that is how the sport works. That's how a lot of sports work. You've got to qualify. You've got to, if you want to get promoted, if you want to get to certain races, you've got to finish in a certain position. And the reformation or the reform of the structure for wildcards changed to take that into account a few years ago when it was, or was it even last year, when it is those top 30 teams that can qualify. The Rockets, they were 26th. The French team, however, Christian Prudhomme was not seduced by that fact, saying that they do not emphasise their French identity at all. They're mostly Dutch riders still.
Victor Lafay, heard of him, Christian?
Well, he did then
Most
concede
French man
that,
I've ever
course,
seen in my life.
Yeah, Mr. Cheese.
Yeah.
Or Monsieur Fromage. Look out for the cheese videos this summer. But anyway, so he did concede that they've got some big names and they've got some backroom staff that's familiar with the tour as well. And that might make less of a difference. But then there's history with teams, if you take the kind of the rankings point of view and the riders that they've got and consider that the tour is this year, it's what I think basically the conclusion to the piece. My attempt was to, I suppose, mostly it was kind of throwing shade at or analysing the wildcard system more than maybe anything else, and while also noting that I think the Rockets would make it a more fun tour.
Well, so this is the kind of key point for me, right? Is that we're sitting here thinking about, okay, what would make this kind of most fun Tour de France? Because that's where we would find value. Right, we're as a media entity that covers the Tour de France first and foremost, but also just as cycling fans who want a good and interesting Tour de France, and maybe more likely insight into the tour that we might not get otherwise via the channels that the Rockets use. I think that's why we're kind of that would have been fun. But if you if you flip that on its head and say, okay, well, where does ASO find value? ASO doesn't really care about YouTube views. Right, they make their money from traditional broadcast.
But they
television.
do care about people actually paying attention to their race.
They should.
Well, that's true.
My point is that I don't think they necessarily do at this point, because their revenue is still coming almost entirely from traditional television broadcast. Now, that model, so traditional sports TV broadcast, that model is changing rapidly / dying, right? So they will have to pivot at some point. But for now, they probably have more value in the sort of political maneuvering of having a Spanish team in than they would out of a bunch of YouTube views that they're also not monetizing and not controlling, right? It's essentially that they're almost bringing the Rockets into the tour. If you look at this from ASO's perspective, is kind of like bringing another micro broadcaster into the race that is not paying them. Right.
I think it was an easy decision for ASO to make, because they can point to the fact that the Rockets haven't raced the Grand Tour yet. So the Giro has already said Kit.
Carry on. I'm sorry. I've got to.
You put it was the. There's a basketball analyst who does that when he's making a point. Weghorst, something. And you did the perfect version of that meme, so I stopped my tracks. So Giro d'Italia they will give the Rockets a wild card.
Surely.
As that's what's been hinted out. But then nothing's sure until it happens. So then the tour can easily be they'll be next year. The Rockets can probably get in. I reckon this is, if I'm going to put tinfoil hat on for the first time in 2026, if you'd allow me, if you cast your mind back a few years ago, the ASO took down a bunch of the Tiedemann videos off YouTube for violating 2021 for violating Tour de France image rights, because you're not, unless you pay the ASO, you're not allowed to put footage of the race on YouTube or anywhere.
That's including
because-
anything from the roadside that you've taken yourself.
Yep,
anything
anything.
of actually
Well,
the race.
and
Yeah.
They own
and
it.
if you're accredited, anything in an accredited space, so like
Yeah.
tour
Okay.
buses or anything like that. Yeah.
So, the Tietema lot put their hands up and said, yes, fine. But they also got an apology off the ASO because they just ripped down all of the videos without explanation. So kind of went in a bit heavy-handed, probably came out of that. The ASO, don't forget, ASO probably came out of that being like, well, we don't want these like upstarts completely coming for all of our lunch because clearly they know what they're doing. So I reckon it's a bit of like easy, you're not coming in, taking over the whole thing, telling us how to do stuff.
Yeah.
You're gonna pledge allegiance first. You're gonna come with your begging bowl, and then we may let you into our race. I think it's definitely a power move from ASO to the newfangled way of doing things.
Well, Bas Tietema at that time, he released a statement kind of acknowledging that and how it, because they'd had discussions with ASO and all of that sort of thing. But then he used at that point, so this was 18 months before they launched the Continental team. But so that part of that phase of the Tour de Tietema mission hadn't quite started yet. But he ended the statement with the quote, "We're going to continue our mission to turn cycling upside down," which to the Tour de France and ASO must seem quite threatening.
No, they like it right side up. They're big fans of right side up cycling. Yeah.
Well, and as much as I'm an ASO guy, consider these two things, right? You have them kind of not giving the Tietema lot a helping hand up, who are doing a very positive thing for the sport, I would judge. And on the other hand, you've got them very happily giving Lance Armstrong a platform through him being involved in the American coverage at last year's tour on that sort of stuff. So I'm an ASO guy, but I'm just saying, if you're going to delve into this and sort of look at the political signals you're picking up, there's a reason they like their bread buttered certain ways.
They were lucky that I think in a way they're quite lucky that there was a logic to this. That it does make sense.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
But there's so many other things going on, including the fact and yes, the system has changed, but there is while rankings are the kind of the written rules, it's always been a tactic to recruit riders to attract attention to the ASO. Julian Alaphilippe, yes, Tudor has been going on rather longer, and Q36.5 is a different kettle of fish because they were a previous organisation, went away for a few years and came back. But Tom Pidcock had a massive impact on their getting 2 wildcards last year. And then if you look further back, and yes, we're going before the top 30, we're going back kind of slightly to less specific rules. Remember Aqua Blue? They got a Vuelta. They got a Vuelta wildcard in their very first year, and they lasted 2. And there's also so Marcel Kittel's presence at Rockets, you'd think probably doesn't really have that much to do with it, apart from maybe the promise of some help, so a kind of a bit of extra force from behind the scenes. But the likes of Alberto Contador and Ivan Basso must have had an impact on Iolo Cometa getting a Giro wildcard in their very first year as a pro team. So it doesn't. So there's a lot in here that doesn't actually. It doesn't work.
I mean,
but there is that.
It's a wild card. It's a wild card.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. What's a wild card for?
We pick. It's just like we pick who we like.
Yes,
That's
and
the whole thing.
Someone in the comments made a great point about the Tour and breakaways and the difference between a Caja Rural, who might get a top 3. I mean, getting a win would be fantastic, and I would love to see it. But the difference, as a team participating in a race, the Rockets would be fulfilling a rational objective, whereas Caja Rural would be getting the biggest result in a 3-year stretch. But Caja Rural will try and get in every single breakaway, and the Grand Tours have an increasing problem with breakaways.
Yeah.
And the Rockets don't care about breakaways. They do not care about getting sponsors in front of the cameras. So that's another thing they want. That's another kind of historical moment, element of cycling, and the kind of we just got to get some Spaniards and Frenchmen in the Total Energies jersey up the road, and then everyone can take a break, and we'll get to the sprint later on. Yeah,
for the mayor who's waiting at kilometre 120. Can I give you my spicy take?
Yep.
So obviously the Rockets very popular online, right? When we, a lot of the stuff we listen to and read and how we, compare our opinions is all online. So obviously it makes sense that where we are, virtually, Rockets seem massive. I'm sure there are pockets of Spain where Caja Rural feel massive, right? In real life, when you're sitting there with a little cerveza and tiny little spicy sausages, whatever, fine. There has been, as I would hope and expect from the internet, in the outpouring of digital grief that the Rockets have missed out, there's been either the contrarian response to people being like, well, Caja Rural is like this well-established team, or from Spaniards, where, you know, you're entitled to back your Spanish boys,
a little
whatever.
homerism is okay. Yeah.
But I cannot, for the life of me, from a sporting point of view, I know there's been some riders who've like done well in other Grand Tours or whatever, and they've got a lot more experience than that. I can't see from a sporting point of view what is more enticing about having Caja Rural at the Tour de France. For the contrarians, making the point of them over the Rockets, if you had to name 25 cycling teams, would you even would half these people even remember Caja Rural? I'm sorry, they're not even in the top 2 Spanish pro teams in my mind.
Abel Balderstone Erasure.
Abel Balderstone. Abel Balderstone. He
I can't-
well, yes,
I can't-
of course, first
I can't stomach
Spaniard
it.
at the Vuelta, 13th. Yes, Christian Prudhomme picked him out,
Great.
or selected him in the because he finished 13th at the Vuelta. He did have
Yeah.
a good Vuelta. I mean, but
Great.
yeah, and he's from
That-
Barcelona or from the nearby area.
That's
but yes,
what really
it's-
gets
Yeah.
all the cycling fans' gears going, is the guy who finished 13th in last year's Vuelta. That's why they make their millions in broadcast coverage, not a team doing something fresh that can add a little extra thing in. So
Yeah,
I
I would
am
like
not
to also
impressed.
point out that this is a team, the Rockets. I mean, that yes, it's still very young. Also, they've been going for, this is their 4th year of operation, their 3rd year as a pro team. 3 years ago, they announced that they were aiming to be at the Tour de France in 2026, and I thought, that is insane. You're a YouTuber from the Netherlands, and not that that's a bad thing, but that's not France. It isn't France. And I thought, wow, that's, I mean,
I think we're
good
going to
luck,
be
I
at Tour de France
guess.
in 2029.
yeah,
Yeah.
big time.
Well, maybe we'll get there in 2030.
Let's just go for 2027, seeing as apparently it's really important where the race starts.
But there's a very
But,
fine line between ambition and delusion, and I think the Rockets are kind of leaning towards the ambition, and I've been increasingly impressed with how they're operating.
But they
And
got
yeah, maybe
invited to the presentation. That's a sick. They're being gaslit by
But hey,
Christian
look,
Prudhomme and the
so
fellas.
it's not all bad though, right? Because they would,
No.
if they were going to the Tour de France, then a top 3 would be great. They would be disappointed with coming away without a stage win. But if they go to the Giro, they should bloody well get a stage win, and there'll be slightly less competition, and there will be a lot more breakaways probably, because Vingegaard and Visma Leasebike are going to smash the first half of the race so that he can chill for the Tour. So it's probably a good
better
thing.
narrative as well, to be, to fail and then
Yeah,
do it eventually is probably better. They get more YouTube videos out of it this way.
I mean,
Well, they won't get sued.
Yeah.
I'm just not surprised in the slightest.
No,
That's what it
if-
comes back to.
If you're a
Like,
Tour de France team, I think you get 3 minutes per day of coverage that you're allowed to use for your socials. So I wouldn't be surprised if they've crunched the numbers there as well. With the points, I'd be interested to know if you take Caja Rural and Rockets points, but then you add Wout Poels, Dylan Groenewegen, Victor Lefay.
done
I mean,
this.
that's hard to do because they weren't.
I've done this.
Yeah, does it come
Well,
close or not?
I've added up. So I looked at all the points. So the standings last year.
Yeah.
Let me find the numbers, because that would make this a better
Get the
anecdote.
numbers.
So yeah, the Caja Rural had at the end of 2025. Elevator music, please.
Dum,
where is it gone?
Bum, bum, bum.
Okay, I need to find my Word document. Sorry, guys.
No,
I know exactly where it is in my Word
Oh, you got
document.
it.
I can't find
Okay.
it in the article.
Did you see the new bus as well? The new Rockets
Yeah,
bus.
it looks great.
Looks wicked. Let me
Yeah.
I'll quickly show the people. It's in the newsletter if you're just listening, or it's on
I've got
Instagram,
it.
stuff like that.
So
Look
when
at that
you're-
bus.
Yeah, it's
we're not
beautiful,
going to
huh?
see that bus in Barcelona.
You might
so
see,
sad.
you see it at the club. Well, actually, you might. Well, you see it at the Tour of Flanders.
Yeah.
Anyway, so last year in the rankings, end of 2025, Caja Rural had 3,924 points. Now, 913 of those points were for a rider who doesn't ride for them anymore. At Unibet Titema Rockets, as they were then called, 3,225. Now, if you take their 15 new riders, the total tally, 4,359.
There we go.
And Caja Rural are in the negative.
But again, what's in it for ASO? So that's
We're just
Yeah, well,
we're just using their arguments against them.
I think we should move on. I think we should take a quick break here, and when we come back, the UCI has issued a statement on 2 cycling. We've got a little update from Australia, and UAE may be back. We'll be right back. As always, if you'd like to avoid the ads in this show, just sign up, get the member feed. There are no ads in the member feed. escapecollective.com/join. Sign up now. Welcome back, everybody. The UCI, Union Cycliste Internationale, has released a statement about, well, they didn't call it this, about 2 cycling. So for those who don't recall, 1 cycling last year was a bunch of GM types, Richard Plugge, etc., chatting about ways to modernize the sport and utilize the power that teams have to sort of force this. 2 cycling, excuse me, 2 cycling, the best way that I can describe it is it's gone over their heads now. So Richard Plugge is no longer the chief guy doing this. It's now the rich guys.
Yeah.
So it's not the execution guys, it's the money guys. And the money guys,
Cycling.
suddenly the UCI is much more interested.
No.
Strangely.
Worried.
Slash worried. So, Johnny, the UCI released a statement about this over the weekend, I think it was. What
it was on Friday. So, in the same way that the Rockets wildcard thing was announced on Friday, great time to put out a press statement that people aren't going to like. The UCI like to chuck all their stuff out on Friday when everyone's, especially in the continent, have already shut their laptops for the weekend after doing their state-mandated hours. Now, I'll read you this statement. So before that, though, you remember we did the call out for experts from our membership.
Yeah.
Within that, I've got a spreadsheet going, and we've got someone who's a brewer, so knows about brewing beers, and we've got someone in city planning, and there's a bunch of others I need to go find on the Discord. People who said that, but I would like an expert. Well, their expertise. I want them to have a nasally voice, so that when we have statements from the UCI, we can get them to read it out for us. So if that's you, send me if you're proud of your nasally voice. All voices. We love them all.
Management committee.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Character. It's like TV shows cast characters for the character they're playing. Anyway, so I'm not gonna do the accent, but I'll read it out and just imagine a nasally voice. The evolution of men's and women's professional road cycling, particularly with regard to its economic model, was also on the agenda. They're talking about all the UCI bods got together at the Cyclocross World Championships, where they can all expense 5-star hotels and, I don't know, drink loads of beers.
Wine.
The members of the UCI Management Committee reiterated the need to relaunch discussions on the reform of the sector with all relevant stakeholders, aka the money man. To this end, the UCI will consult the concerned parties in the coming days, invite them to put forward their vision for the future. Yada, yada, yada. This is going to involve expectations and proposals regarding the evolution of the current organisational model, such as the calendar, race formats, internationalisation, broadcast and economic model, sustainability, solidarity within the sporting pyramid. And that this comes following feedback from various stakeholders that they want reform. The key line in this is the last sentence. Only together and united under the authority of the UCI can a more appealing model for all stakeholders be developed, which smells to me like desperation. It feels like if your authority is absolute, you do not need to send statements out into the ether to try and get all the sheep back into the pen before, after they've already bolted.
Yes.
So, I mean, look, to link the first story that we discussed in the show and this story, the powers that be are flapping. As it's cycling and real life in the real world, constantly a mirror held up, and they're looking the same, where things are shifting. And the UCI should be worried, to be honest, because what does the sport get out of them? I mean, I would like, actually, Kayla, if you could play devil's advocate, what would you say is the use? This is putting you on the spot. What is the use of the UCI? What would be the negative of the billionaires just coming in who already invest a ton of money in cycling? Maybe they could finally, get ASO on board and then be like, right, you know what, we're going to actually do a new UCI, which isn't just all of this,
Sock height,
the bureaucracy that
handlebar
doesn't really
width.
work at the minute, and
Yeah.
and it's interested in things that don't really matter to cycling.
I would say the one thing that they do that I think has been good is they do, like the World Cycling Center is good, right? They grab riders from places where there's not as much infrastructure, and they bring them to Switzerland, and they put them on the track, and then they have them ride. And so a lot of those riders have ended up in the World Tour. That's cool. That's good. Great. To give credit where credit is due. But fundamentally, and I've said this on this podcast before, the UCI gets its power from the Olympics, right? It is the designated cycling body by the IOC. And so IOC money also funnels down through them, right? And that is fundamentally so like their core remit is just to make the rules for an Olympic sport.
Yeah,
That's the core remit. And anything beyond that is just sort of other things that they have layered on. So but prior to Hein Verbruggen, all they did was make some rules for an Olympic sport. Then Hein Verbruggen really was the one that sort of, you could call it modernization, you could call it expansion, whatever we want to call it. He's the one that came in and said, we want to sort of control the sport in more ways than that. We want to start, selling broadcast deals to Worlds to pull in a whole bunch of money, like things like that. All came from Verbruggen and then McQuaid after him. So yeah, the short answer to could a bunch of rich dudes, link arms with ASO and start their own thing? Absolutely, right? You would probably end up with some sort of scenario where the UCI would prevent anybody who raced. So in that instance, let's say the Tour de France was part of like a breakaway league, a super league. I think is actually the term that's been thrown around, which is borrowed from football. Went over really well there as well. Let's say ASO links arms with a bunch of rich guys and they create a super league. The UCI couldn't really do anything. What they could do is they could say the riders that are part of the super league can't race the Olympics.
Or World Championships.
Yeah. And that's really all they could do, really. Which, on the women's side, might be enough to get riders' heads turned, right? On the men's side, I don't think that would have the slightest bit of... Because the other thing that, like, ASO could just be like, well, we have a new world championship.
Yeah.
It's called the Tour de France, and it's now the World Championship, right? Like there's lots of sort of different ways that could play out. But I think fundamentally what you're seeing in this press release and that line, which let me read that out once again. It's down at the bottom here somewhere. Here we go.
Sure, I've got it. You got
Only together and united. That part's irrelevant. Under the authority of the UCI.
That's the important bit.
Key bit. Can a more appealing model for all stakeholders be developed? Because that sentence isn't true.
No.
I would say only with ASO involved can a more appealing model for all stakeholders be developed. Is how that sentence should probably read. And I think the UCI knows that. And fundamentally, like, they know that they are not really in a position of power. They don't actually have that much power in any of this. ASO is significantly more powerful than they are. The teams and riders, if they ever got organized, would be significantly more powerful than the UCI. And you could absolutely see a scenario by which the UCI basically just went back to being a rule-making, regulation-making organization, and that's all they really did. I would argue that in the last sort of 10, 20 years, particularly in the last 5 years, that core competency has not been all that competent anyway. So maybe they could spend some more time on the rules and regulations and do a better job of it. So yeah, I think this is an interesting... One, cycling was interesting in some of the ideas. Two, cycling, which to be clear is what we're calling it. It's not what they're calling it. I hope they start calling it that internally. Two, cycling is interesting because of the power dynamic. And I think that the UCI was able to squash one, cycling relatively easily. They like Lepartien basically did with a single letter during the Tour last year. This will be more difficult to stop. That said, if ASO doesn't get on board, it will be irrelevant anyway.
Probably.
Right? Yeah.
Unless they bought RCS and started from there, I don't know.
Yeah. Can I point out something else in this press release?
Yeah, it's a long. To be clear, it's a long one that talks about lots of safety stuff and other decisions.
Well, so the safety one is actually the thing that I was going to point out here, which I hadn't spotted earlier. quote, in the field of safety, the UCI has decided to launch a call for expressions of interest concerning the development of airbags for cyclists.
Yeah,
That sounds
was that what Picnic Post and Nail were showing off?
Yeah, so like basically like a thing that sits, I think, around your waist or up your back, and it will sort of like expand quickly if you crash.
I've seen these.
And they're using
helmets.
it in training.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
Yeah, the helmets are good. Where it's like
it's like
they're sold for commuters mostly. Where it's a little,
it's like a neck, like
scarf around your neck, and then it will go.
There's there's a bunch of stuff. A project concerning wheel and tire detachment, which would be basically stop running hookless rims in road racing because you can't run high enough pressures and your tires will fall off, allegedly. There's a bunch of interesting stuff in here.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I mean that the fact they included that just means that there are things happening behind the scenes. They wouldn't say that unless there were, and they were a bit worried about it.
Yes, 100%. So we'll keep an eye on that. So, should we move over to Australia
for the final time, maybe in a while?
For the final time for a while. Cadell's was over the weekend. Matthew Brennan came in second. Why did he come in second?
Because he needs to get his eyes checked, apparently.
What do you mean?
Ian, our Ian Trelaw was covering the races this weekend. Everyone should definitely go and check. Obviously, the race reports are good, but his story about the breakaway Petra Stjezny, the human-powered health rider who was on a doomed solo breakaway that was not so doomed after all. That's a fantastic piece. So do go read that if you have a few minutes. But yes, in the men's race, it was won by Lund Andersen again. And of decathlon Chugum Chuma or whatever Ian decided. Yeah, it's his second win of the year. He won the first stage of the Tour Down Under.
We should. That's a joke that really works better in text. So Decathlon's new sponsor was it CGM CMA?
CGM CMA, something like that. Chugum Chuma.
So CMA CGM.
CMA.
I think you'll find.
Sure. So it's Kamachugum.
Ian asked one of the riders, "What do you think of us calling you this?" Did you see that?
No.
He asked one of the newbies at Decathlon, one of the Norwegians.
That's
I think the lead out chap,
the new guy.
He's the lead out man for Tobias Lund Andersen, who is Danish. So they have some. Apparently. But yeah, so Ian asked this chap. And he said, and he was bemused, I think is
obviously
best put. I think he was.
So is it Chugum Chuma?
Chuma.
Chugum. Okay.
Do you know
we got to refer to this team some way in the pod, and I'm not spelling out 6 letters. I'm sorry.
I think
where did he write this?
Out of the piece.
Yeah, it's not in the piece anymore. He must have got a message from Pierre.
Maybe.
That is very funny.
Yeah, it's gone.
I've got some.
So we're not calling that.
I got a little whisper in my ear about the doomed solo breakaway.
Oh, really?
That I will talk about in After Dark.
Oh,
so yeah, someone fact checking. Ian Trelaw, which we don't like to do. He's a very good reporter and a pal, but just in case, we're always aiming for a closer version of the truth, and someone wanted to correct the record on that.
But the closer version of the truth only for members.
Yes,
but would you like me? So yes,
truth dies in darkness, but behind a paywall, so it's fine.
Yeah. But should we get back to the question?
Yeah, sure.
What happened?
What did Matthew Brennan?
Matthew Brennan misread 300. He thought he was 200 meters from the line and opened his sprint. And Tobias Lund Andersen said apparently he noticed that Brennan had gone early. He was like, that's odd, but admitted that if you were going full pelt in a sprint, you glance up, you think you see 200, you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could certainly make that mistake pretty easily. And Andersen conceded that he could too. But yeah, Brennan was quite annoyed with himself. Ian used the word prickly, which I thought was perfect.
Oh,
It's a very, very good adjective for a pro cyclist who has finished second out of their own mistake, potentially.
I am always surprised this doesn't happen more often because, like, for example, at the Tour, they haven't seen the finishes, right? They're coming in. I mean, they probably have viewed like a Street View YouTube kind of thing with the directors in the morning.
But if it's a straight road,
they don't really know, right? Like it's not like doing a crit or something where you're going around the same lap over and over again. You're like, all right, at that tree, that's where I'm going, right? Like they're coming in blind, basically. And I think a lot of times when we see riders go early, we think it's some sort of tactical thing, and I think it's just because they don't really know where the finish line is. Because like 25 meters here or there, which is at those speeds a second or two.
Well,
right?
100 even more.
Can have a massive impact on your ability to win a sprint. So that timing thing has always been. It's actually one of the most impressive things about sprinting to me is that they've managed to do that correctly more often than not. Can we switch over to UAE?
Yep, UAE are back.
Stories.
They're kind of back. They fixed it. Well, they fixed it. Tadej Pogacar, obviously, the main person helping fix it because he dyed his hair bleach blonde.
Right.
Which, from personal experience, does fix everything.
Did we talk about the crypto thing? Did we talk about the crypto thing?
Yes, we actually have a corrections corner on that. It doesn't appear to be a scam. It's just not. Is like geo-blocked in the UK, so I don't know. Maybe my government is protecting me finally after all these years. So it does seem to be legit. And Tadej Pogacar was like, "I don't have enough money. Here's this weird Chinese."
I mean, speaking of Ian,
Seychelles crypto.
That was a bloody good.
He is
piece.
our chief crypto scam adjacent correspondent.
Especially when it comes to Slovenians.
Yeah, it does sound like KuCoin. Has had some history that isn't great. The word trust is used in the press release a lot.
It's quite kind of it's almost Parks and Rec levels of farce.
Which is really ironic because like the whole point of crypto is you don't have to trust them. Like that's the whole point, right? Because it's all public on the chain thing. You know.
I also find it, and so this is absolutely not necessarily a pointing the finger at Pogacar in the least, but a crypto company joining with cycling and using the word trust. Slightly. There's something slightly kind of
might
like
well
somebody
down.
Like several people didn't do their research there. I think maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote this in the comments of Ian's piece. To me, this just feels like the most charitable interpretation is that Pogacar is getting some absolutely horrendous advice from agents and managers who want to take their own cut.
And he hasn't even done a Google search.
It's just I like how that's the way that Ian often opens these stories. He's like, well, first I Googled it.
But that's what's great is that all of us would start there, right?
Right. So here we go. Trustpilot.
No, I just put my credit card number in and hope for the best.
I'm just gonna read this out of Ian's story. Trustpilot, a review aggregator, gives KuCoin service a score of 1.6 stars.
You're joking. Out of how many? 2 or 5 or 10?
Out of 5.
Okay.
From 1,476 reviews. Some of these reviews rage against the platform's fees and lack of transparency, saying they will flatly steal your money. And manifesting hope that, quote, these scammers eventually find their way to jail. So that's the company that...
At least they're giving the money to Tadej Pogacar? No.
I mean, it's just...
No, it's ridiculous.
It's just... I mean, like you don't need the money, dude. Like, just don't.
Well, so... Can I return to the hair briefly?
Yes.
And the caption he put with the hair.
On it.
No. I enjoyed it massively. So Tadej Pogacar with the caption of his new haircut. It begins. Slim Shady introduced me to hip hop. Slim Shady, otherwise known as Eminem, the Detroit rapper of many such hits. He said, when I was 12 years old, on my listening device, presumably an MP3 player or iPod or whatever.
12 years old. I mean, it was probably iPod back then, huh?
Yeah, probably. Probably not even the first one. He had 200 songs on his listening device.
Maybe an MP3 player then.
All Eminem.
USB stick.
Since that time, he's discovered a love of rap and hip hop, which I can attest to from standing outside the UAE team bus a lot of the time.
Yep, we know this.
Now on his playlist, it's mostly Slovenian rappers, and that is just a fun fact and nothing more. I don't know what more it could
What
be.
does that mean?
The way he wrote, that's just a fun fact and nothing more.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Why?
So he's having a crazy time, which I kind of like.
I think he's probably bored. He's got ages before he starts racing.
Do you think
Yeah.
do you think these two stories are related?
What you
like some sort of like crisis that he's having.
No. Like he posts the KuCoin thing, right?
Yeah.
Like half the internet is like, oh, he's been hacked because it's so stupid that no one would do this on purpose, right? Turns out he wasn't hacked. He's just getting his bag. You know, he's just getting a big pile of money for associating with a highly suspect crypto company.
Yeah.
A couple days later, he has to like humanize himself again.
Dice
So
is there. Talks
go back
about
to his
Eminem.
goofball roots? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like no. I'm not here to just take money from sketchy crypto companies.
Yeah.
I'm here to Slim Shady, like the rest of you. Right? Do you think those?
And then TNT Sports and their social media accounts where they make sure to put their graphic and everything, they gobble it up. They gobble it up and chuck it back out and like post it with a caption like, "Will the real Slim Shady / Tadej please stand up?" And it just makes me hope that the horrible billionaires usher in a new form of cycling, because I'm just about done with this one, to be honest.
Are you okay, Johnny?
No, it's just like the stories today have just a lot of them are thoroughly.
The Villa game was really rough over the weekend. Kid.
I did spend a lot of time driving recently. No, it's just I am excited for the new season. Admittedly struggled through things like the Alula Tour at the start, but I'm just looking for something to get excited about. And between it all, we've got the UCI pretending to be doing stuff for racing. We've got the ASO getting in the way of, the development and fun of the sport. And then we've got the best rider doing crypto dodgy stuff and taken away from the fact that he's dyed his hair and loves Eminem. I love that for him. I think that's really fun that he's, this Slovenian kid who can relate to 8 Mile. That is great. I love that about him.
If that had been the only story here, it would have been fantastic, right? It would have been great.
Admittedly, if we're going to keep on the UAE train for a minute, I am part of the problem as to why the sport is suffering, because there was a litany of errors in my reporting from last week's episode about UAE's bad week. So to put to bed Kevin and his chain, turns out it was Jan Christen. As a shock to maybe no one, but I'd seen conflicting reports. I blame Wheeler Flitz. The Wheeler boys had as much of a bad week as I did. I can't just trust them. I'm going to find a new religion to follow. And it was also not. It was Davide Stella who was the rider who crashed and his butt got all blown up. When I thought it was, I can't remember who it was. Number 45. It was number 46.
Robin Carpenter commented on I think our Instagram about that. Who was in the race, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Good race for Modern Adventure.
Yeah. Was that the first one?
It was their first stage race in their first season. They got second on the final stage and fourth overall with 2 different riders. Can we
call Robin a friend of the pod?
I think we should.
I think he is. Yeah.
I think we can.
I think he listens.
And they had a good bicycle race. What did he say? He said something about landing at 100 an hour to remove your butt, nice. Which looked just really unpleasant. Really unpleasant. First race for that American squad. What did they finish?
They finished fourth overall with Stefan de Bod, and Byron Munton finished second to Jan Christen on the final stage. So the final podium was Jan Christen, Sergio Higuita, and Igor Arrieta, also from UAE, and then Stefan de Bod in fourth. Beating out, there are plenty of big World Tour teams there. And obviously it's not quite the UAE Tour. It's not the big boys as such, but for your first race.
Yeah, it's not bad. Byron Munton is my new favourite English language name in the peloton. Just going to say.
You just like the sound of it?
Yeah, and it feels like if there was... Byron Munton's African, but you know how Victor Lefay is our man upon the ramparts?
Yeah.
I can imagine Byron Munton being in like the English Civil War and also getting an arrow through the neck as he's defending Sheffield or somewhere.
He kind of looks like it, actually.
Yeah. So shout out Big B.
Yeah. He won a stage of the Volta of Portugal last year.
Decent.
Which is actually really, really good because...
It's really hard to do as well.
It's really hard to do because everyone you're racing is...
Juicing.
Well, Allegedly, Kit.
Well,
Actually,
you have
well,
to say
some of them have
allegedly.
been- some of
Most
them
of
have
them,
been
a lot of them in
sent to
prison
jail.
now. I think. I think we're legally fine there. There's no reputation to uphold. Anyway,
Yeah.
Another positive story from the Alula Tour in a different sense. Jonathan Milan didn't win all 3 sprint stages, which
that's good.
At least
It's
that makes
also-
me feel alive.
It's also hope for the Giro because surely Matteo Malicelli, another Italian fast man, will go with Astana.
Yeah.
So that's fun. Although it's the Giro, so
Who's-
everyone peaks then.
Okay, on the run sheet, you've got the person who came third, Fritz Biesterboss.
Oh yeah, I thought that was
That's a
that was
fantastic
odd.
name as well.
It's a very good name. He was picked up very late by Picnic post NL after
His
he
name's
finished,
Fritz, and he rides for Picnic. They are.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. Those boys.
He,
Are we just
he
naming
won,
guys now?
Yeah,
he won
we
the
are.
Dutch national. He won the Dutch gravel champs and then came second in the worlds.
Yeah.
And they picked him up off that and some great form with the Beat pro cycling team. And he was involved in one of the big crashes at the Alula Tour, but then went and finished third in a sprint on the penultimate stage, which is pretty good.
Good for the Beaster boy.
And it's a good name.
Really good name.
The
Okay,
Beaster Boy.
my what's it called? My faith is restored in our sport.
Yep.
Didn't take
Good.
long.
All right. Quick break time. When we come back, Remco Evenepoel keeps winning things.
Kaylee, you took us out of that part by saying it was break time, which sort of seemed that sounded to me like we were going to get a snack or something or a nap, and got neither.
Carton of milk and a biscuit.
Yeah, you've never called it break time before, but it didn't. It was more regular break than break time.
I
So
don't know why.
ah.
Yeah. I haven't had breakfast yet, so that would actually be great.
At least he didn't call it
Fair enough.
recess.
True.
What's wrong with recess?
If it's not
Well, it would
if it's
be
not the cartoon TV
American
show,
way
I'm
of
not
calling it break
interested.
time.
Yeah.
My kids love recess. I used to love recess. You guys not have recess?
It's break
It's like
time.
morning break, afternoon break time, lunchtime, playtime.
No, we used to have
I
Depending
remember
on
a
your
break
age
time
and-
at primary school, going down to the bottom of the stairs where there would be a cart laden with tiny little cartons of milk and packets of bourbons and custard creams.
Oh, nice.
Go off into the playground with your milk carton.
The best thing about my morning break times at primary school was when we were queuing up to go back in the classroom, Concorde would go overhead and
That's
burst
right,
our
cool.
eardrums.
Ouch.
Wow.
Not literally, but
That
No,
sounds-
but it's
to a
quite noisy.
6-year-old.
Yeah.
Anyway.
One of the things about being a parent is you realize that lots of things that you thought were for you when you were a kid are actually for the adults.
Like what?
Like
Lining
recess-
up.
Like recess.
I
Oh,
see.
for sure.
Get out
yeah.
of the building.
Yeah.
Let me
Go and
sit in
have
in
zoomies
quiet.
for 20 minutes.
Let me sit in quiet for 30 minutes. A lot.
Yeah.
There's numerous examples of this where, like, in your head, you're like, recess was for the children. Like, this is a special treat that we got. No. Special treat for your teachers. This is what that was. And parents. Anyway, let's get to Remco Evenepoel, who's racing in Mallorca over the weekend. Crucially, we had that team time trial, which we, I think, briefly mentioned on Friday
Yeah, we
show,
did.
Right?
We did.
But he just kept winning after that, right?
Yeah, he went on a massive solo move in the Tramontana. I think it was about 75 kilometres to go.
Yeah.
He went at the bottom of the main climb of the day, and then he was just like, "Oh, see ya." And then he did not quite the same, but he won on Saturday. So bish bash bosh, literally 3 in a
The
row.
the Remco doth protest too much, perhaps.
I mean,
Like, doesn't I get that, Wheeler Flitz and Het Nieuwsblad and all those boys were going to report on it, whatever happened. But if he hadn't won, then they would have been like, oh, Remco didn't win his first race. But
Yeah.
it kind of feels like you can block all that out. And maybe you're just like, right, it's Challenge Mallorca. There's a bunch of guys here who are going to do nothing but chase after me all season. Maybe for this one, give them a little bit. Give them a couple of a glass of milk and a bourbon biscuit or something. I find it quite uncharitable, and maybe it speaks to the pressure that he already feels under at the team. But is it a sign of strength coming out and winning? I'll take the team time trial away. I think you've just got to race that as hard as you can. But then the road races, do you have to win that, or can you be a bit more political with your choice of how to race there? Am I reading too far
I
into
think it
this?
makes sense to win at the very
One.
start. Maybe
Yeah.
this
The
is
next
true,
one,
this is
though,
true.
come
Yeah,
on.
Yeah.
Too much.
Back to our favourite team, the Rockets. They put out a very amusing video on their Instagram with, I think it was probably a viral American football video that I had never seen before because I'm not really that active. This little fella running up the pitch and then he just gets completely clattered by. This is from the Rockets trying to win a bike race, and then here comes Remco Evenepoel. Yeah.
I think I've seen that clip. It's like from a high school game, so like it's like a freshman.
Yeah, it looks like a child running.
Okay.
Yeah. I disagree, Johnny. I think the whole like story around him right now. I mean, like we were talking about last week, where he says, I think I can come in second, right? The whole story around him right now is that he's the second tier, maybe even third tier, right? Underneath Pogacar and Vingegaard. And so I think that winning anything at this point is good.
Yeah.
He said something about, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but it's basically said something about us trying to make these days as hard as possible, right? So he's gone some sort of I joked about he's training for the Tour de France before we went on break there, on recess, but I'm kind of serious. Like he's putting in the hard miles right now. I know it's a long time to July, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
And if he'd finished in the group, having kind of sent a teammate up the road, would that be even more potentially kind of? I don't know. Could that be painted as arrogant in a way? I'm not.
I mean,
not sure
people would find a way to criticize it, whatever. Yeah. But I think you get the set. Like, and riders have spoke about this last year, where it's like Pogacar just absolutely crushes everything and wins everything, and there probably is a danger at some point that someone will snap and the sport will break for the teams and riders. Maybe if they can't even win Challenge Mallorca, because I don't know. Do you, Remco? You paid a lot of money, and the idea is that you win races, but it's just a bit different to how I feel things worked before. Where and I don't think it's necessarily good for Remco that there's this pressure to win
would go and
whenever you
and
can
win in Mallorca. It's not.
I mean, I wouldn't like to compare Remco to Alejandro Valverde.
No, okay, but a big name that is expected to do something throughout the season. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
He also
anyway,
might just be bored of training and wanted to get out in front of the. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, and then Red Bull won the final, the Trofeo Palma, which is a sprint, so they just won everything.
With
I
Marat.
covered Mallorca years and years and years ago. I got stuck. I got stuck on the island because I was there for a SRAM launch. I think it was like the original Red 22 years and years ago, and then the airline that I was supposed to take off of the island folded while I was there. I can't remember. It was like Air Spain or something. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
So I got stuck there for like a week.
A week?
There are worse places to be stuck.
Well, because there was like it wasn't just that like there was no my flight got canceled.
Yeah.
My airline got canceled.
Yeah.
But you couldn't just get another flight.
Well, there would be everyone was trying to get
everyone
on the
flights. There's like two airlines that fly there, and all got like.
How far away is Mallorca?
Yeah, but also I think I was like 25 at the time.
Yeah, you weren't stuck. You were like, gosh darn it.
But I got to cover this race, and at least back then it was a very different affair. Like there was no Remco Evenepoel, the equivalent of Remco Evenepoel of 2014 or 15, which would have been like. What late stage Andy Schleck or something like that?
Stage
was not winning in Mallorca. So that is I think that's it's an indicator of what the sport is now, which is that, and we've talked about this in lots of other areas as well. It never slows down.
No.
Right? Like there are no races where everyone just chills and sprints at the end. Like that, like the old sort of Giro way. We're gonna go piano until the TV turns on. Like that doesn't exist anymore, and that extends all the way to Mallorca. Like if you're like a second tier team, dude, racing Trofeo Serra Tramontana, and Remco goes up the road, like you're just What do you do? Like everything's a World Tour race now. Is basically what I'm saying. Like I imagine
switch your Garmin or Wahoo to training mode.
Yeah, that was probably one of the hardest days for some of those riders I've ever seen. Right?
Numbers to win the 2005 Tour de France probably.
Yep. Anyway, do you guys know that Brian Coquard won a bicycle race?
Yeah.
Yes. The
Grand Prix
GP.
Cycliste de Marseille, La Marseillaise.
Yeah. Did he get a lead out from the e-bike rider, or was that?
Yeah, that was weird. There's. Did you see this, Kaylee? A guy on an e-bike just popped in front of the breakaway at 5k to go, which is very dangerous.
Yeah.
But wasn't my favourite motorised thing that happened over the weekend at Cadell's. We should have talked about this when we were talking about Cadell's. During the women's race, there was a guy going across like a farm alongside the road where the peloton was. Pulled a wheelie on his like dirt bike.
Oh, yeah.
Fell off. Absolutely, just ate dirt. The next day was back with his leg in like a cast or bandaged up, and his bike was
and slinged up onto the back of the ute.
Yes, the bike was on top of the truck, pulled a wheelie but stationary, and then he was still there, being able to ride along with a wheelie but with a busted leg. So a lot of
really
motorbikes,
painful.
And yeah,
it
looked bad. But yeah,
I do think that we need to head into Cyclocross Corner at this point.
we did.
Make it sound
for the
like
final
a
time.
bad diagnosis.
This is our medicine after 50 minutes of
Is
fun.
it for the final time? They always run like a bunch of races.
No, we
after
won't do
Worlds.
any more.
We're not talking about it again, unless something crazy happens.
Kit,
Hello.
the bike racers who were probably going to win the bike races won the bike races, and are we done?
Well, okay. I mean, yes. I actually thought of you this weekend, Kaylee, because you've talked before about some elements of cycling being a bit like an exercise contest, or rather that you don't want parts of cycling to become an exercise contest. And cyclocross can kind of be that.
If your horses aren't good, I would agree.
Yeah. I mean, but also if Mathieu van der Poel turns up, that's definitely an exercise contest. However, I think at a World Championships, that's fine, because cyclocross is pretty damn good at crowning the best of the season.
Yeah.
Unlike, I mean, a surprise world champion is quite fun in road racing, but it just makes sense that Van der Poel, after his sweep of wins, starting at Namur, which he raced because he was bored of training, and the same is for Lucinda Brand, who. And then hers is also a good story because she came back after a terrible weekend last weekend and the end of her streak. But also, while, yes, the favourites won, especially the last four races, so the last one on Saturday and every race on Sunday, most of the races were really good. Van der Poel's maybe not so much. The race for fourth was good, though. Don't worry, I'm not going to go on. But there were some great results, and Lucinda Brand to win. I think we should, huge respect to Van der Poel for his eighth. His record breaking and the men's elite side. Number of elite world championship titles. He ties now with Mariano Vos. So he can't retire yet if he wants to be the all-time winningest elite champion. But Lucinda Brand, I mean, massive chapeau. This was her 19th win of the season. She might race again just once before she goes on targets Paris-Roubaix, because then she'll get to wear the rainbow jersey before the next season. But considering everything that she's faced and achieved in the past few months, with not only domination of the World Cup but the death of her mother in early December, it's epic. We've all been through, everyone's been through personal tragedy and trials and tribulations of just being a human being on this planet. And then Lucinda Brand has been her best self on the bike, which is it's awesome. And it's a perfect kind of. I mean, it was a perfect season. Not quite perfect. It was a wonderful season for her for all sorts of reasons.
As close to perfect as we've seen in a very long time.
Yeah. And there are all sorts of what ifs, but you can only race who turns up. You can. It's a hugely mental game. So that was by far my favourite result of the weekend. I also have another. Since we're speaking about good names, I want to know where the junior men's world champion's parents got his name. Delano Heron. Now, are they American history fans? Franklin Delano. Delano. I don't know. It's the only Delano Delano that I've ever come across before. But anyway, and he was stunned. His quote: "Am I allowed to swear?"
Yes. Why not?
Yeah, sure.
He was absolutely stunned at the finish, and all he could say to begin with was, "I really can't believe it. What the fuck? Wow." And that's just like,
that's so Dutch.
He's what, 16, 17 years old.
That's not old enough to swear. Not if your parents are going to see it.
It was a good weekend of racing, and you know what? Few surprises, but it was the World Championships.
Yep.
There was a big shove in the women's
There was
race.
Marion Norbert Riberoll had an absolute nightmare
Easy
of
for
a
you to
day. I mean, she had an issue. She crashed with Kristina Zemanova. Give her a big
shove,
fairly big shove. There was a commissaire in the pit lane who was trying to tell her that she needed to get off, but she either ignored or was too in the zone to pay attention. And then about half a lap later, she was seen just kind of crumpled practically on the side of the route, having just stopped. I think she was diagnosed with concussion, possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not been confirmed, but possibly anxiety or panic attack. But yeah, I mean, it's heat of the moment sort of things. Obviously, shoving somebody in a race is not a good thing to do.
No.
But yeah, it's a huge deal, these World Championships, And Thibaut, and so I need to give a shout out to one of our members, Jeanette, a member from the Netherlands. Thank you, Jeanette, for the attention given to Lockie in your email. Thanks for the reminder to stop calling to Thibaut Nice, which I was informed means we've basically been calling Thibaut Nice. It's Thibaut Sneeze, if we pronounce it wrong. Which while Jeanette
now
said,
what I'll be calling him.
Yeah.
So
is his name.
Thank you, Jeanette, for bringing our attention to that. I'll do my best to call him by his actual name.
Thibaut Sneeze had some kind of tire problem, right?
Yeah, he learned a lesson. He was in the race for second with Thibaut Del Grosso, and there's this really, really, really steep ramp. There's a particularly key feature at the Hulst course, and Van der Poel and Del Grosso were nailing it every time, all the way to the top. Every other category, from the elite women down to the junior boys, were running up at least half of it. And so, the grown men had more power, more strength.
They didn't have to Kate Bush it.
Yeah.
But they also needed to have the right tyres, and Thibaut Nice found he didn't. And
what was he using?
Well, he's just not quite good enough or wide enough or knobbly enough profile.
Okay.
So he said that cost him second. It started raining in the last two laps, and he said that by that point it was too late to change his tyres, or change his bike for a bike equipped with more suitable tyres. But he was also sliding around earlier in the race, so that's a lesson he'll learn for the future. And it is of course a big part of racing. Any version of two-wheeled cycling is equipment choices.
Off-road. Yeah, because he would have made a gamble, right? He would have gone with something that probably rolled a bit faster.
Yeah, there were some fast sections that were needed.
Yeah, which is probably why he did that. But if
apparently his dad advised him to go with something a little heavier. But
oh God, we don't want to reopen this one again.
I haven't found the quotes myself, but yeah,
what's his dad been saying in the press about his son? It's not going to be good.
But yeah, I mean, Thibaut he conceded that he made a mistake there, and especially as Del Grosso. I mean, they're going to be, regardless of the result yesterday, Van der Poel won by quite a margin.
Yeah.
But whether or not Van der Poel retires in the next couple of years, Thibaut Del Grosso and Thibaut Nice are going to be good to watch as a rivalry.
Gross versus Sneeze.
Yep.
Can't wait. I think from a narrative perspective, it's been fine cyclocross season. There's not been as many hijinks as I like to see. A bunch of slightly chubby Belgian men like drinking beers and getting all muddy and falling down hills. But the commissaire who was brave enough to try and interrupt the shover over the weekend, that kind of let it finish on a little uptick. But I need more chaos and craziness, like the vape being blown in Van der Poel's face. That doesn't spark joy.
It's not enough.
But yes, Kit, I would like to thank you for your cyclocross coverage this winter.
Can I just before
without you would be lost.
Did you not see Puck Peters' crash? Because that was quite fun.
What was it was? What
she nearly knocked a camera into the moat, and the camera had already been knocked. But the camera had already been knocked into a camera had already been knocked into the moat in the junior women's race. So it's
sounds like they should put the cameras further from the moats.
It's a very good shot.
I've seen this angle. Yeah,
it's a very,
let me shake
it. It's
it.
a great shot. The GIF is in the gallery.
Yeah, okay.
I've just searched this up on Twitter. It's right. It's like they have it's like when they put the camera inside the little flag in rugby, so you can see them scoring a try in the corner. It's kind of that vibe.
Yeah, crikey. It's we, from this position, we're basically in the moat. That's right on the edge of the moat. There were quite a few instances when somebody came very close to ending up rather wet. But yes, no, it was so.
Matthew Van Der Poel is going
pretty much
skiing
over.
now.
He's already skiing, apparently.
Already skiing.
Where's he gone?
Which is,
Do you know?
I usually riders can't go skiing. Usually that's in their contract because skiing is a great way to bust your knees up and not.
He's
be able
allowed to do what he wants, I think.
That's
Might make
true.
the race a
Pretty
bit more
much owns the
interesting when he
team.
turns up for the classics.
Oh, yeah. I was surprised by that because was it Mike Woods posted something like right before the last day of his contract that was like,
Oh yeah.
now I can post the things on Instagram that I'm actually doing and not pretend that I'm not skiing.
Did Pogacar go skiing? I think I saw him. He was at least dressed up in skiing stuff. I think he did. So maybe he's allowed as well.
We should hit up Mike
Yeah, he
Woods.
was. He's on a ski lift.
We should see if Mike Woods is going to be in Montreal.
I suspect he'll be invited.
Thank you to the members who gave me Air Transat reviews.
Yeah.
So Kaylee, let's get that ticket booked, and I'll sleep on the floor somewhere.
All right. Can we hear about Air Transat in After Dark, which is where we're headed right now?
Yeah, you know what? I'll get up the DM I got, and I've got I've got the Doomed Breakaway Truther, and I've got a bone to pick with Het Nieuwsblad. So
Good.
if that's not enticing, I don't know what is.
Can I've got a Velo thing, which is just
Yes, I mean is it the same Velo thing that I have? There is a Velo thing that we
Probably.
should discuss. Yeah, that was kind of bad. Yeah.
all right. Let's cut it off there. If you listen to the free show, it now ends. If you are a member, it would continue. And you get to hear about what we're about to talk about. So go sign up. EscapeCollective.com/join. Sign yourself up. Get on that